Well, hello again, and here we are finally with another video. In this video, we're going to take a look at the incoming freshmen and some of the big names in certain event spots that I think are going to be big names. One in particular that I think you all are like, well, you missed this one athlete that we know for sure will make an impact. But I think all of these young men and women will be making an impact in some way. One, though, in particular, and when we get to them, you will certainly know. And so, like traditional, we're going to go over our format that's similar to as it has been since the formation of the channel, a four-leg format. Leg one will be sprints and hurdles. Leg two will be the distance. Leg three will be jumps, and we'll be anchoring with our throws. And we're going to generally look at one particular person from each section, from each gender. And then after this video, the next video, which we'll put out next week maybe, will be a video in regards to major transfer because there are still some transfers happening. For example, Favor Ash just recently transferred to Oregon, and we got to talk about him. And what does that mean for the team title hunt? Remains to be seen, but there's a lot of big transfer names, and we're going to talk about them too. But today's video is all about the freshmen. And so let's begin with our very first notable freshman in the sprints, the lone guy that I think will really kind of catapult himself. And this is a great freshman class. A couple of football players that are really talented, but I'm going to focus really on the track guys who I know will be there in the long run. And the guy that I think will make an impact just because of what we saw from this group of 400 runners last year at Georgia is Irvin Pearson. He really became a big household name after defeating NG, also of a high school star of Georgia, at the state championships, running a 45:35. I think he is going to make an impact. Carol Smith Gilbert kind of proved that she can coach with the big dogs, Florida's, the Arkansas, the Texas A&M, and the LSU's, because her athlete last year, Kristen Morales Williams, technically broke the indoor world record had it not been for blocks that were not registered for record-breaking competition. We're looking at Georgia having the young athlete who breaks the world record indoors. And remains to be seen what becomes of his career. He was able to make the Olympic team for Team Canada, so bright future for him. He's now pro, but I think the next guy for Georgia will be Irvin Pearson. And they had a really talented class. So will they be able to produce a 400-meter group that's like a Florida, that's like an LSU, that's like a Texas A&M? Remains to be seen because their group is particularly young, and Florida and Texas A&M strengthened their groups with some transfers to really bolster their ranks. But Pearson, I think, is going to be a big-time talent. You look at his videos, go to MileSplit, go to YouTube, you'll see very, very talented young man, and I think he's ready to be kind of the freshman headliner. On the women's side, I think it'll be his teammate, and I don't think anyone disagrees. It'll be Adeja Hodge of Georgia. She is an Olympic athlete. She represented the Virgin Islands. She ran 22.33 indoors a couple of years ago as a junior, and that just set the world ablaze because that was better than any sort of legal time that Allison Felix had ran outdoors. She did run that 22:11, but it was at altitude. Her 22.5 is kind of listed as was the outdoor national record, but she smashed it indoors. And she's really, really talented. She hasn't had, the opportunity to compete against talent on her level frequently. She was very, very dominant in high school. The only time we saw her really get pushed was when she was competing at either a national championship or at a professional meet. I think that she's really ready for an explosive freshman year, similar to that of Kayla Jackson. She's probably never trained with someone that much faster than her, and this sounds like it's going to be an explosive Georgia team, just with that young talent. Now, moving with the hurdles, a young man that I think kind of went under the radar, and I don't know why, but he's super talented. His name is Karamoko Sako. He's from Colorado. He will be competing for Arkansas. He ran a 13-1 at the Brooks PR Invitational to beat a lot of the top high school talent that we thought would be here. But he is the top guy coming in. He is 6'5". I am not incorrect saying that. He is listed as 6'5". This is a tall, quick young man. Not to me an heavily used talent. I think this young man seems just a tiny bit raw, but at Arkansas, they're going to really pull it out of him. He's going to likely be coached by hurdle expert Lawrence Johnson, and away we go with this young man. I mean, just whoo, whoo, whoo. 13-1. I'm curious to see what he can do. Now, on the women's side, when the hurdles, there are two names. One that I'm for certain, because we've seen her name on a roster. The other, we're waiting to see her name added. But I think it'll really be it's rough between these two. Makaria Harris, who is now of LSU, ran a 13:18 in the 100 hurdles and a 58:01 in the 400 hurdles. She's been very talented since I saw her in 2022 as a sophomore at the Texas Relays. And if you are following me on Facebook, you could, and even on this channel, you can look for my Texas Relays recap. You will see that she's mentioned in there. She was super talented. I was blown away. I was like, she's only a sophomore and she just continued to get better. She, to me, has the most room for improvement because I just never really felt like she, in her home state, ran against anybody in Louisiana that was really on her level. Now, the next young woman certainly has ran into competition on her level. She is by way of Jamaica, and that's Habiba Harris. Running a 12.95. She's a super speedy hurdler. She'll be competing for Mike Holloway's team in Florida. They lose Grace Stark, and then they get Habiba Harris, but they also have a bevy of other talented hurdlers that are superstar freshmen. So this may be an incredible group for the Florida Gators. Coach Holloway is really good with coaching those hurdlers. You saw last year with Grace Stark, previous years with Grant Holloway, Florida's going to turn them out. And she may be the next one. She's not currently listed on their roster. She was labeled as a signee, and if you look her up online under the reporting site, TFRRS, you'll see that she's still listed as a freshman for Florida. So I think she will compete at some time this season. Hopefully it's this indoor season, and we'll be able to see this talented young woman perform. Now, moving to the next leg, we're looking at the distance events. And this is the young man who probably should have been mentioned in my preview video, but again, I wanted to focus on athletes coming back. But I think that this is probably the most favorite of all freshmen to win a national title. And that's Quaitatu Kidali of Oregon, who ran a 142.6 in the 800. You heard me correctly, 142.6. This is an extremely talented athlete. I am very curious to see are we going to see a 141 outdoors, 142? I mean, where are we going with this kid? He landed at Oregon, of all places to land. It's got, great facility, great training partners, great coaching, great financial support. It's Oregon. What will he do? I think he is the most obvious favorite of all freshmen to be considered a strong contender to win the 800 because there is no one coming back with his level of talent. Not to disrespect this really, really deep group of 800 runners. I know you guys are paying attention to that. This is probably the deepest group of 800-meter runners for men ever. It is super deep. 147 will not cut it anymore indoors. You need to be 146 or under, probably just to get to the meet. We'll see. On the women's side, it is Pamela Koskai of New Mexico, and that's not to be confused with another Pamela Koskai. This young lady is very, very talented. She's already proven herself. She finished second in the cross-country national championship. She almost broke 15 minutes in the 5K. She was only bettered by Doris Lemengol and Hilda Olamomoy, who are going to be competing for the 5 and 10K probably regularly. Those are the two big names in long distance running. But I think, indoor season, she's going to be right at their heels. Outdoors, we're going to see a potential great steeplechaser. So to me, she landed in the right spot because clearly New Mexico knows exactly what they're doing with her talent. And then moving to the jumps, this is really exciting because both jumpers are high jumpers. But I want to say more so on the women's side than the men, even though it's a deep field. On the women's side, in every single jumps event, there's serious talent. I think this will be a special year for jumps because I think some of these freshmen are going to score high and score well. But going back to the men, I think the top performer would probably be Scotty Vines of Arkansas. Romaine Beckford moves on, and they go ahead and get the top freshman, Scotty Vines, who jumped 7 feet 4 1/4 inches in the high jump. It's like they are replacing a champion with the potential another. I do certainly think he'll be an All American as a freshman. Can he do what Romaine did last year? Remains to be seen. I mean, it's technically wide open, but man, is he a talented young man. You see this picture, he can really get up. And I think with him being at Arkansas, that great facility and that great training and coaching, we're going to see him improve that mark. For women's, we have a world medalist. She was the world under 18 gold medalist and the world under 20 bronze medalist. She's been a top tier competitor on the junior circuit for a very long time. Her name is Carmen Bruce. She's at Missouri. She jumped 6 feet 5 in the high jump. That mark alone immediately makes her a contender to win a title. Because outside of her, there's only, I think, 2 other athletes within the entire NCAA that can hit that. So she's an immediate competitor. So we're looking at, names that can compete and possibly win. Number 1 would be Koi Tatoi, and number 2 would be Carmen. Really strong group of jumpers, but she really stands out. She's already world class, and she's just now enrolling at Missouri. In the throwing events, Oregon really has just dramatically not only improved in their development of their throwers, but within their recruiting. They went out and got Ben Smith, who I think would be an immediate threat in the shot put. How immediate? Again, Trig Robinson O'Hagan is really dominating, and Ole Miss is really good at developing throwers, courtesy of Connie Smith. I think there is really good chance that Ben Smith will be an All-American as a freshman. That's why he's listed here. He was a big signee when it happened. And, you thought, well, they got Jada Ross, who they're going to have on the men's side. I think it'll be Ben Smith when he gets a little older. On the women's side, it's another world talent from South Africa, Ashley Erasmus, who's at USC. Kudos to the coaching staff at USC. They recruited one of the best classes I've seen. And this is just going off on a little tangent. In the 100, you saw they took about, I want to say, 5 or 6 of the top 100-meter sprinters in the world that were high schoolers, including Maya Peterson, who might end up beating Adasia. We'll see, but she had that unfortunate injury. But hats off to USC and your recruiting, because what a class. And she's going to be a gem. Ashley Erasmus, a great shot putter by the way of South Africa. She is an Olympian. So we already know that she's used to high-level competition, and she will be bringing it this indoor season and outdoor. The Pac-12 is no more. She's now in the Big Ten. The Pac-12 kind of, to me, was the better throwing conference, but a lot of the better throwing schools have merged into the Big Ten to go along with the Nebraskas, the Ohio States, and the Michigans. So she's going to have tough competition, but I think she will be able to handle herself. And this is an incredible group of kids. I think we're going to have a great year for freshmen, but like last year, there's going to be some growing pains. So remains to be seen of this group who can win the national title as a freshman. It's been done before. And we know there's one guy who's well ahead of the pack already, and he's Olympian. Thank you for joining me today in this video I'm calling the Freshman Impact. We'll do a recap of week 2, and this is an exciting weekend. We got a lot of big meets, one in Texas Tech, one at Clemson. Keep your eyes to your phones. The times are sure to be eye-opening. And also, please enjoy your MLK holiday. I ask that you do something that simply involves you and your community and you providing any type of service. This is an important day. And we know that we also have the inauguration, however you feel. This will be a busy weekend, so keep your eyes glued to your phone. Thank you again for supporting me. Please like and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you again Sunday or Monday.